Hey, I'm Ben Chenault with MortgageBanc, and today we have Bryant Turner with Realty here. We're answering all things real estate. I'm gonna ask him a couple things that he probably don't want to answer, and I think he's gonna ask me a couple things that I don't want to answer either.
Definitely.
He's making me look soft and short, and I did work out this morning, so we'll work on that as well.
We'll get your pillow to sit on.
You got a phone book I can sit on or something?
Well, appreciate you having me here in the lounge. I'm excited to talk real estate and get some a lot of unanswered questions or questions that need to be answered from you. And I know that you're the smartest person I know in the mortgage business. So I appreciate you guys having me out.
Cue the laugh track.
Yeah.
So Ben, most recently thing that I've had come up, and it continues to come up, which triggered me to try to talk to you a little bit about this. I have a buyer that has been staying with his parents for a couple years. He's been saving up a lot of money. His max is gonna be roughly $350, and he's been saving up this money, so he's have roughly 20% saved. So, you know, the biggest thing for him when we were discussing his needs for a home, you know, we kind of got into the finances, which I don't like to really get into too much because I'm not the expert at finances, but I am the expert at finding a home. However, you know, a lot of people are saying that they have 20% down. And not only that, he was like, yeah, I could put down lower, but I don't want any PMI. And that's a big deal for that buyer, because I personally feel like he's missing out on homes he could have had previously while he's been living with his parents.
So he's just trying to save up enough, and as he's saving, home prices keep going up, so he's trying to save more. Home prices keep going up, he's still trying to save more.
Yes, and even a thing to go even further, the parents are the one telling him he don't want PMI. So it's a generational thing also. But it's just not this past client. I've had this in multiple situations. So I think it's misinformation of generations that's been passed down, and I want to see if we can kind of clear that up for the pros and cons of it.
No, and you know, it could be generational. 20% is kind of a magical number, because then you don't have to have PMI. But if there's a cost of waiting associated with it, it could be more expensive holding off 6 months to 12 months, 24 months. You know, average home prices still year to date, they're projecting between 7 and 8%. So, I mean, yeah, it'd be great to not have the PMI as part of your monthly payment, but his payments might actually be a lot higher later on because he's paying more for the house. So you got to find a way to balance the two. I'm not saying everybody should buy a house. I mean, if you're staying at home with your mom and dad and your mom's cooking, and
right, it could be worth it.
Pretty good. But I wouldn't suggest people to not look at it. You got to look at the pros and the cons for every individual. But I have seen that problem with people trying to just accumulate as much as they could in preparation for the home buying process, and they're missing the boat the whole time.
Right.
So my advice to most people would be, hey, as soon as you are comfortable with payments and the down payment, go ahead and start looking at the numbers. Decide at that point, is it right or is it not right for you?
Right. Now, I'm gonna ask a question that put you on the spot. Is that fine?
Yeah.
All right. So if I'm looking at a $300,000 house, and these are all rough estimates, and I'm saving up, what's 20% of $300,000? $60,000. But you know, I can get in a loan at 5% down instead of that 20% down. So instead of $60,000, I'm paying what's 5% off top of your head, I guess, of $300,000. 15. So I could pay $60,000 out of pocket, or I can pay $15,000 out of pocket. The PMI, how much roughly is that going to be per month or per year?
All right. So off the top of my head, you know, it's going to really depend on credit scores.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, that's a big factor.
This is because normally, honestly, the people who are doing this are very diligent people who are very, what's the word?
They're very conservative.
Yeah, so they're going to have a good credit score normally.
Yeah, it's risk
so
averse, and that's fine. But, you know, probably $130, $150 a month.
Okay.
Depending on, you know, several factors. But, you know, if you look at the numbers, and I've done this for a long time, and when I look at the numbers with people, I'm like, okay, your payments might be, let's just say $300 a month more.
Right.
But you've got all this cash over here. Which feels better to you? If you can't have both, would you rather have all this cash over here, or would you rather your payments be less? Now, I know the correct answer is I want it all, but you can't do both simultaneously. So what I have found is when you show people that on black and white paper, what feels best, a lot of times people are saying, I'd rather have the cash.
Right.
I'd rather have the safety of knowing I have that cash. If something goes wrong, I'm fine. If I have anything go wrong with the job, or if there's a air conditioner blew up, who knows? If I have all this cash that I have as a safety net, then that makes me feel better.
Right, I understand that completely. And I feel that way as a realtor, because a lot of first-time home buyers are looking for this house that they feel like is going to be their forever home. On average, people live in their house 7 years, and it's weird. We did the exact same thing in my personal family, not on purpose. We stayed in our first house 7 years, then sold. Normally, after you buy a house, within the first year, you're going to buy a car. We did the exact same thing. So I think it's funny how a lot of first-time home buyers go into this first-time home thinking of long-term goals. They think they're going to be there 30 years. I'm going to be paying 30 years on this mortgage, which I don't know what percentage, but I would say at least probably 80 to 90 don't live in that house for the next 30 years. Probably 70 to 80 live in there for 7 years or less. So I think it's, I think they need to figure out, right now I could, on a $300,000 house, I can be paying $15,000 down, or I can be paying $60,000 down. I have $45,000 that I can sit in the bank and possibly invest or do something else with, or I can put that all in the house and it's just sitting there in equity.
Yeah, and I love that topic because when you look at somebody's complete financial picture, they may be far better off doing something else with that money. Do they have a car that we could pay off? Eliminate car payments. They have student loans. Everybody's financial profile is different from someone else's. So when you take some kind of blanket rule or advice from someone, it's just not always going to apply.
Right.
Really good credit scores, and they're putting down 5 to 10%. They may roll it into the rate, which they're probably going to refinance later anyway.
Right.
And with the equity going up so much as it has and should continue since we're in a lack of inventory.
Right.
By the time they get the 20% equity in there, it may only be a year or 2 or 3.
Right.
So they're giving up potential of locking in a lower sales price just to avoid the PMI. Most of the time doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
All right. So, quick question.
Yes.
You work with a lot of buyers. If you could talk to somebody out here that's thinking about buying a house, and you could say, what is the one thing they need to know before starting the home buying process? What would it be?
The one thing they would need to know before the home buying process is their financial situation. So as far as getting pre-approved, or if they're buying cash, how much cash do they have to use to buy this house?
Gotcha.
Okay, so the first thing I think buyers or sellers should do is call an agent. When they're thinking about buying or selling, call an agent first to know that they're prepared to do all the right things. But
wait. Zillow has everything on it, right? Can I say Zillow? I mean, it's on the internet. Can't I just self-prepare researching?
Most people do, and I'll start with even sellers. I've received so many calls from guys who are getting into the flipping business, and they're like, Bryant, we're finishing up this house. I'm painting it right now. I want you to come take a look at it. I go and take a look at it. I tell him, hey man, this thing is worth $200,000. He's like, oh man, I thought we was going to sell it for $300,000. They're so far off, you can't believe it, and that's consistently happening. And you think about, man, if you would have called me when you bought the house or right before you bought the house, you know what I mean? And I think it's fear. I don't know what the fear is that people won't call. I don't know if it's like they think it's going to be a charge from a call or what. They think like, oh, we don't need his services yet. But that happens so much with sellers. They call me after they've already done the work, after they already lost thousands and thousands of dollars. And then it's just too late.
So the work they're doing is good. They're just putting the money in the wrong place.
Putting it in the wrong place. I think it starts, a flipper, they'll buy the house too much. It normally starts from there. And then they go and put all this money into this house when it's not worth it. Then they outprice the neighborhood and they can't sell it.
So don't do like gold-plated door knobs.
No.
Or toilet seats, And,
that waterfall was wasted. It was completely wasted. It's the only waterfall in the neighborhood.
The waterfall. I thought you were talking about a waterfall toilet seat. That would be interesting.
Haven't seen that one yet, but
No.
that's on the seller side. Now buyers, same thing. You know, a lot of buyers will just get ahead of themselves. You know, they get on the internet, they find all this information, and they think this is what I need to do, this is how I need to do it. And you know, if you just call me, I can point you in the right direction, get a team together so you can get prepared to do exactly what you want to do. And you know, the fee don't occur. You know what I mean? I think that I'm saying the fee, people are so scared. I think they have to pay from the first phone call. The fee don't occur when in our business until things are basically said and done. You know what I mean? Until you close on that house, we don't get paid a cent normally. So I think that's one thing I want to put out there in the public. It's like, don't be afraid to reach out for help because you're not going to be charged from the very beginning.
So how quick should somebody reach out? Are we talking about a week, a month, 6 months, 12 months?
As soon as the thought process begin, if you think, hey, I think I'm ready to buy a house, go ahead and make that call. Don't wait to the last minute. Or if you think, hey, this is an idea I have a little extra cash, I want to flip a house, or I want to sell a house. As soon as that idea pop in your head, go ahead and make a call then. Don't call when it's too late. You know, I would love to know over the last 10 years how many thousands of dollars have been lost just by making the rash decision and going ahead with it without any help.
And you just show up and just shake your head?
That's all I do. It is sad. You know, I feel so sad for these people, and because they tell me this price, and this is what happens after that. I say, hey, it's only worth $200. They say, oh, we was thinking $300. Thanks for your time. And they go find that agent that dabble in real estate. He will list it at $300,000 and it'll sell for $175 2 years later.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So not only have they paid monthly payments for 2 years, they lost all of the money they thought they were going to get, and even more because it sit on the market so long that now you just have people that's, hey, this guy's testing. I'm going to throw this offer out and see if it sticks. So nice. It's a sad situation to see, but I see it every day.
All right, so we talked a little bit about what advice you'd give somebody thinking about the home buying process, but specific to our local market. If you could have if you could give somebody some advice about this local market and they said, tell me about it, what would you say?
My first words would probably be ready. You know, be ready to act whenever you see that one thing that you absolutely want and gotta have. Be ready to act because this market is really fickle, and it's a house that is a beautiful house that may be priced right. It can sit for a month or it can sit for 2 days. You never really know. So it's really important to be ready. And I'll tell you two phrases that get people not in the house they really want. One is let us sleep on it, and number two is we're going to pray about it. And I hate to say that, but the other buyer probably slept on it and prayed about it last night, and they're going to buy it today. You know?
So I can't get my mom to come check it out, and my cousins, and
you can, you know, and then I think that's when a professional realtor will let you know. And I think somebody that's a really professional, that's know the market, that know the area, he's going to know, or she's going to know if that house is going to sit for a day or two, or if that house is going to sit for a week or two, or a month or two. So I think it's really important to find somebody you trust to work with. That's another big thing is trust. I guess from both our sides, lender and realtor, trust is probably the main key product that you need when you're working with the client. But if you trust me and I tell you, hey, I think this is going to sit on the market no longer than a week, and then it's going to either go at asking price or a little bit higher, I think it's going to be really important that you act on it if you really want it then. But yeah, when you sleep on it, you pray about it, you go get mom and dad to check it out, it can be gone. You know, so it's really important to be ready, financially ready. You know, all the decision makers that's going to make that decision need to come see the house when we go see it, so you can, you know, make it accurate.
So would you say because buying a house is an emotional decision, that maybe having a checklist, know what those boxes are, because when you're thinking about, you know, your kids in the backyard and how the sofa's going to look there, it's kind of emotional thinking,
right?
And maybe have a list together of all of the things that are important to you, so that you know it when you see it.
Yes.
And you can make a wise decision, not just based on emotion.
Correct. If you have a must-have list and this house have 4 out of 5 of your must-have, this is one that you need to either off on and definitely seriously consider, or you'll be looking for a long, long time.
Okay. So right now, do you feel like you're kind of a psychologist at the same time as being a realtor?
I definitely am. You know, that's one thing they'll prepare you for when you get your real estate license. But I think psychology classes should be definitely like a CE learning class or something, because it's well needed in this business. A lot of time during the transaction, I feel like personal feelings can get involved, and it's very much so. You lived in this house for so long. This is going to be such a big deal to your family. This is where you're going to do, cookouts and bring in friends and family and small groups and bring home babies and everything. So I completely understand personal feelings getting involved. But normally doing transactions, we have too many personal feelings getting involved, and people are blessed and lucky to have a realtor that's the middleman, because a lot of times if you send me a text as a seller and if I was to forward that to the buyer, this deal would be gone. But thank God I can know, like, okay, he
Thus
woke
you
up.
have a psychology degree now.
Exactly. So I can read the text, say, okay, he woke up a little bit mad this morning, so let me, say this in other words to this person just to keep this thing together. And it's so, that happens all the time, where people get so many personal feelings involved that they kind of lose focus of the goal. And I think good realtors also do a great job of keeping everybody grounded to get a deal done and keep it intact, so both goals are met on both sides. This people are purchasing the house they want. You're selling the house you want to sell as the seller. So I think that's very, it has a lot to do with a good realtor.
Good. All right, so in your opinion, and you work with a lot of realtors, what separates the good from the great realtor?
I think the thing that separates the good from the great realtor is the person that's dedicated to the buyer or seller need. I know it's kind of a broad area of answer. However, we have a lot of realtors that jumped in this thing in 2020 and started making a lot of money really quick. And I think you have realtors that want to get a job done and realtors that actually want to get it done right. And I think the ones that want to get it done and get a check are getting out the business right now, which I'm happy about. And the ones that want to get it done right are the ones still standing strong.
All right, so I just saw a stat that said that 90% of all homes year to date in the country have been sold by 10% of the realtors. Yes. What makes that 10% different?
Well, honestly, it's a lot of realtors are trying to get a paycheck. Others are trying to do the right thing. The right thing people are the 90% that's selling, the 10% that's selling 90% of the homes.
Wow. All right, so I'm a consumer. I'm related to 50 realtors. I've got 8 realtors in my Sunday school class, and I want to do, buy something. How would I know the difference between an average okay realtor and a great one?
The short answer is check the references. Call the last 3 clients of the deals they closed and ask them how their transaction process was. I think that's the main thing to finding out, if you're dealing with a good person or somebody who's just popular. Also in real estate, you have a lot of dabblers. You have people that get in for their part-time gig, want to make some extra money on the side, and that goes and shows in their service to the client.
Okay, great answer.
Flipping the question on you. How do you identify a good realtor versus a not so good realtor?
Ooh. I'd say it's the lender they work with. No, probably not. I do notice quite a bit of difference. The attention to detail, who's working full time. As you said, there are a lot of people that are dabblers, and that's A-okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But somebody that has the experience level that does contract after contract after contract tends to have a system, and they just don't miss a beat.
Right.
Makes a big difference in the end when you're trying to buy a house and you're competing, and everyone's nervous, high alert. It's a big investment. You want to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed.
That makes sense. So look, next question. What would a good lender be? And I'll answer first and then you answer.
Oh, goodness.
All right. I think a good lender, I'm a huge guy about communication. I think if you have great communication, whether it's good or bad, I think you're starting to, get in my pile of good lenders, as long as you're communicating.
Okay.
How about you?
Broad stroke, I'm going to say, great communication, but somebody that really cares about the client. What I mean by that, it sounds real, nice and fluffy, but it's true because everybody's different. Everybody has a different financial profile. And if you're working with a lender that can take the time to understand the client, what their needs are, not only today, but 5 years from now for them and their family, all of that comes into play. And I find that most lenders don't ask those questions.
Right.
So if I had to cut it down, I would say the difference between a good lender and a great lender is in the quality of questions that they ask the client.
That makes sense.
And, if you take it another level, it's the organization. You know, do they have a system down that leads to a predictable outcome? We're in an industry that has a lot of red tape, a lot of surprises. Nobody likes surprises.
Right.
So do they have a system that is going to help them predict those surprises and avoid them? And that's what we strive for here. This is a special time. You've got a mystery question.
Okay.
You don't know what it is. I don't even really know what it is. But good luck with it.
Thank you. All right. If you were a stand-up comedian, what would your signature joke be? That's a great question. All right. So I recently did a podcast and I had to think of a joke before the podcast. Well, he told me that, so I looked one up before I went in there. All right. So anyway,
wait, we're being recorded. Is this?
It's age appropriate.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So,
okay.
So long story short, this lady was getting on the bus. She was going from one side of town to the other side of town, downtown Birmingham. You know, it's kind of like hectic. Buses are hard to catch in downtown Birmingham. Anyway, she got on. Her and her kid got on the bus, and basically, the bus driver was a very, I guess, rambunctious person. Just said what's on his mind. You know, he's been driving buses for years. He don't care. Basically said that your child's the ugliest baby I've ever seen in my life, is what the bus driver said. So the lady walks to the back of the bus and she's like kind of frustrated. So she's telling this guy like, hey, you know, that bus driver was really disrespectful to me, and she was mad and kind of almost in tears. And the guy was like, well, you need to go up there and, you know, tell him how you feel and don't let him talk to you that way. And finally, she mustered up the courage to do it. And the guy was like, here, I'll hold your monkey and you go tell the bus driver about how you feel. So I think I would start off with that joke.
All right, so I know that you've shown a lot of houses.
Right.
What is the worst thing that you've seen in showing homes?
Well, I've seen a lot, to say the least. One of them was a handyman's house that everything was broke. It was probably the worst house I had seen. The scariest thing probably was, you know, I'm a big scary movie fan, and it was dolls. It was a room full of dolls, and it was probably one of the scariest things I had ever seen in my life. So yeah, that was probably the worst thing I've seen.
You mean like this?
Yes. This is so weird, man. Why is this? It's heavy too. Which
We knew you were going to say the dolls, so
why do y'all have that?
We just put it in people's offices. Let them know we're watching them.
See, it feels like it has a camera in it.